All right. Good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone's feeling well. It is 6:33. I feel like the day after the Super Bowl, everybody's a little lethargic, right? A little different routine on a Sunday night. But anyway, hopefully everyone's feeling good. Definitely cold still here, right? It's like -1 degrees. But I like the cold. Embrace the cold, right? Anyway, it's a new week, a lot going on. I know last week was definitely a little tricky for many guys out there, between, the acceleration to the downside in crypto and some of the super growth names breaking the 821 day, and then the lack of continuity in mega cap tech. And then you have like the mid caps making highs, the small caps having power. And, it's just a little tricky. Sometimes it's trickier than others. So anyway, let me say good morning to my dogs around the world. What up, Cobblestone? What up, Gary? How's it going? Jonathan, Glenn, Tap. What up, Blair? How you doing? Phil says, good morning, Scott. I'm ready to go. You need to come to Florida. I heard it's a little cold in Florida too, but it's all good. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the Super Bowl and, the banter back and forth, but, it is good to see Sam Darnold. I love a good comeback story. Guy was a road quarterback everywhere. Everyone wrote him off, and P.S. winning a Super Bowl goes to show you, if you have some troubles and trials and tribulations in life, you just work through them, and you can get to where you're meant to go. You get multiple chances as long as you keep moving forward. And as far as the market, if you happen to have had a bad week last week, it's a new week. We'll see what shakes. We'll see if there's commitment to last Friday's move, or do we just continue to do what Monday through Thursday was before that little short squeeze. So how do we do that? We look at some you look at some retracement rules, right? So right now, just say you have the SPYs are down $1. Okay, so down $1, 689.45. Really took off fast on Friday. Like I was telling you guys, on Friday, a lot of people had short on their brain. I'm like, hey, if we, come to 681.75 and pause there, chances are if they can't sell us down, it could be a ripper all week. All day. I'm sorry. And went through that, through 685, through 687, all the way to 692. So I would think this it's like 687 is a spot. Does all of a sudden this turn into an upper flag, where you see some continuity, and all of a sudden the SPYs want to join the all-time highs of Dow 50,000. Like, look at the mid caps here. Like look at the MDY. Like this is pretty damn impressive. Okay, it goes to show you that sector rotation is real. You have to move your feet. You can't just be planted in old things you used to do. Like this is a big move, in the mid caps. And then you look at the small caps. Ultimately the small caps came into the 50-day, held it and had some power. So maybe the IWM gets some commitment also. So with that being said, it's going to be interesting to see like what happens. Because again, if you go back to the spies, the spies are still in this upper range. Spies still are decent, you know. But it's going to be interesting to see like what happens if you are kind of lost and you don't know where to go trading wise. Trade some of the indices, like maybe into this dip, buy some SPY like 693s for a week or two out. If you think the spies are all of a sudden gonna get some follow through to this candle versus trying to think about what's gonna help drive it. You know, you look at some of these mega cap tech, like let's talk about Google for a second. Google had one of the best earnings reports ever, and they tried to sell it down. You had a big reversal, and then on Friday when the market was super strong, they just used it as a source of funds. So the question is, will Google hold 319? So if you want to be in Google and you want to frame the trade, you put here are the spies, here's Google. What's it doing? It's down $2. So what's your risk? So if you wanted to say, hey, I'm going to buy Google verse, 319, that's your risk. If it breaks 319, then or 319.92, it could do whatever it wants. You have to be careful there. So, if Google can't go from red to green today, I don't think there's going to be much going on in mega cap tech land. Amazon, is up 32 whole cents. It also had I think people are talking about how it's trading at the lowest valuation ever. What's it called? The low here is 231 when as high as 211.43. Maybe there's a trade to fill this gap. Maybe there's something good today if that's the case. 211.43. I lost in my I did take options for earnings and it lost. Yes, it did. So now we'll see, does this hole get filled? Okay, so will this hole get filled? Someone I saw give a stat that Amazon is at the lowest valuation it's ever been at. That's pretty crazy. So anyway, it did go as low as 200 and change. It's got to get above 211.43. So maybe there's a trade into that gap. So that could be good. I hope that Keith, the futures guy, can make us some coins. Okay. So again, yeah. So we'll see. So spies are only down 97 cents. Maybe the spies try and go green. This Amazon, maybe it pushes above 211.43 to fill that gap. I did take a bunch of IGV, which is a softer index. It got very oversold to me. So into this down move on Thursday, we were buying some I think $84 calls. So we'll see if there's a move back towards the 8-day just for a broken bounce. The software sector has been fully broken. I've been avoiding it. You had the 8 and 21, they break at 113. You had the wedge break to the downside. And look at this below the 8-day the entire time. That's why I try and preach the 8 and 21 day moving average rules for you guys, saying, hey, I don't care what it is. If it's below the 8 and 21 day, it's in a bad trend. There's no momentum. You can't be there as an active trader who wants to get paid in February or January, unless you're short. If you're a good short, congratulations. Anyway, so this is a spot, and then that's a spot. What's the IGZ doing right now? IGZ is I keep saying IGZ. I'm like dyslexic. IGV. It's up a whole 40 cents. So what's Microsoft doing? I guess it's up 3. Where can Microsoft go on a broken bounce? Somebody asked me. Well, you got what is this? This is 408, 409-ish. And then you have the 21-day coming down. So that this is, these are broken bounces. So maybe it gets to 408, and then you have 420 now. That's it. So if you're framing a trade, you know where it could potentially go and then where you don't want to be buying it. This has had a double top in ever since, what is this? This is July. And then this hole never got filled. So we'll see, how Microsoft had a big gap down, got rejected, and then continued lower. So use that as an example for Amazon. There's Amazon, which had a little bit of buyers, but the market was stronger on Friday than, does it fill this hole or not? If all of a sudden Amazon, can't even fill that hole and trades lower, then that, hey, who cares about the valuation? It's out of play. Get away from it. You know what I'm saying? See also the bank train. So, all right, let's talk about, someone said, look at Goldman Sachs. Sloppy as hell, first of all. Goldman Sachs isn't doing anything so great. It's at least building here. So I guess that's fine. We played it here. It's a little different. If you wanted to be long Goldman Sachs and you thought Goldman Sachs is going to get better, well, here's your frame. Buy it versus 876. That's your stop. It's hard to pay up for anything. So this is 876, and maybe it builds and goes. So that's the way this looks. This doesn't look so bad. It doesn't have such a bad look. That's all right. Yes, Blair says Walmart and Costco. All right, Walmart. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be buying Walmart. Walmart now. This is when you should have been buying Walmart, or maybe versus this gap here when we drew it the last time, and it's had a big move. Yeah, there's definitely a bull market somewhere. Costco, had a broken bounce. Remember this downtrend we were talking about? First up, held the moving averages. Yeah, so sometimes these are, these things have better moves. Target also kind of being reborn. This is when it took back the moving averages, came back, retested it. So yeah, so if you want to trade Target, Walmart, and Costco, go for it. I'm not, but yeah, you could use the same rules for anything. For what I think will be interesting, kind of, it is acting better. Last year was not the place to be. Remember this gap down, never filled it. It was below it the whole time. So a new sequence has started. So anyway, with that said, someone's like, "Can I look at silver?" I was out with some guys last night. We were for the game. He had actually a party, about 80 people all together, a lot of Wall Street guys, and the guy was basically, obviously, he was like, "Silver, silver, silver, silver." He runs a huge book of Blackstone, saying that he doesn't think this is going to be the high of the year. I'm like, well, we were pretty good with silver. This was the buy setup we had for power plays at 49 and a quarter. Then there was an additional buy setup. And then up here, we were buying the ZSL. So down here, you want to start looking and trying to be constructive on silver again. It makes sense. And what game? That's true, Joe. I'm not going to get into the whole halftime show and like in Spanish, and I don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk about the stock market today. So anyway, what's silver doing today? Silver is up 2 at 72 and change. So here's this gap from Friday, 70.84. Yeah, listen, silver, again, has industrial uses. It has, they need it for the data centers, the conductivity, all this kind, all the bull cases for silver. I get it. From 109 down, it's definitely more interesting down here. It's just a different trade. It's not above the 821 day. It's not showing momentum. It doesn't have the shorts trapped. Shorts got their way out. Now it just has to rebuild, and you just got to be careful on your entries and exits. Do I think silver can make a new high? I think it's going to take time. It's going to take time to rebuild, take time to get over the moving averages, and just take time. So I'm not going to make a prediction on whether or not I think silver's high is in for 2026, but I think it'll take time. You just did halftime. How about Tesla and NVIDIA? Okay, well, I'm long some NVIDIA. You would think that this type of day that NVIDIA had would put it back, at least trading better, make people think they missed something. So down $1.34 for NVIDIA, I'm long small. I think I will buy a little bit more. So if you want to go look at the day, the intraday to see where support is from Friday, you go here, you go to your intraday. Let's see. Where shouldn't it get below? I think, it spent most of the day above, this 182 area, 182 to 184. Oops, sorry. Where is it now? Let's see. It's 184. So it's all the way here. So if NVIDIA wants to make it easy, and it was above this spot since 12 o'clock. So it spent the whole half a day on Friday with buyers supporting that. You would think, that would be a spot, but the way they are with the markets. So I would say 182-ish. If this doesn't hold 182-ish, it'll be a little disappointing for those who are thinking it could start trading better. So I am in some, it's still in this crazy range where it's just hard to trade and hard to do much, especially as an active trader. So I would think, here this is 181-ish. So 181-ish, 182. It goes below 182, then it's like, wow, this NVIDIA is really a pain in the butt, and you just really can't do much with it. Tesla, gave you a trade off of the 200-day. So if you bought Tesla off the 200-day, just say you got out at 414 or you got out when it made lower highs, there was a trade at the 200-day into the 8-day. Now the question is, does it hold higher? Does it want to get back into this resistance zone? So, today will be an interesting day for Tesla. So there's lots of ways to think about it on whether or not, there's a trade or there isn't a trade, right? Did Oracle finally bottom? We'll see. It's been rejected at the 8-day every single time. So if is there room to bounce? There's a little room to bounce. Little inside day. It's been battered. It's been bruised, just like every other piece of software. This is 153-ish. So maybe there's a trade to 153-ish. I'm not trading Oracle. I bought the IGV calls thinking like, hey, maybe we get a broken bounce. This is what, 144. It's been the weakest one. It still has the ATM. It's meaning anytime it's up, they're going to want to sell their own stock to raise money. So it's not so great. The moving averages are all moving down. But again, 144, there is some room there if it wants it, right? So we'll see. Does Oracle, Microsoft, does this broken sector have a move just back to the 8-day? What about coin? Wow. That's been obvious. That's been annihilated. Just like everything else. Like if you look here back, you're like, oh, what could I have seen? Oh, isn't this a red dog reversal bearish candle? Get the hell out. Isn't every bounce in the 21-day sold, which it was? So maybe there's some room back to the 8-day. It's the same thing across the board. All of these names that are broken, they are very, very oversold, and most of them have been getting a broken bounce back to the 8-day or the 21-day. So if you want to play a broken bounce, you could do so. And then, hey, maybe it turns into a different type of active sequence if it actually reclaims those areas and starts acting better, So, but you don't know that. I did buy some IBIT calls into this down move for a broken bounce. So can it get to, this is now, moving lower. This is now 42.50. I'd love to see it get there. I bought the $40 calls, on Thursday, trimmed a tiny bit. They didn't give you much, and now, so this is what, this is what maybe you can get. Remember, this broken bounce didn't happen. So maybe this time it's a little bit better. Everything hurts, but the whole thing is, you have to move around. You have to go for different sectors. In December, we were talking about the XLE in December. In my report, I'm like, hey guys, I bought a lot of XLE calls, when it was like 45, I'm like, look at Chevron if you want a leader, look at Exxon. So, everyone had a little chances to switch, right around here. I went over this pattern, in this channel, and now look at it. So I was long this, but I also had other things. So this helped, but it wasn't the hyper focus. And then remember the weekly chart, the cup and handle pattern. I was showing you guys, I wrote this whole thing out, when it was here, thinking, hey, I'm like, it's got to get above 47, it's got to get above 49, and then you have a 10-year channel. So, if you went just to this and stopped trading mega cap and stopped trading semis, and then you did better than a lot of traders out there. If you made it a third of your game plan, you also, should be happy that you did that at least. Look at this Chevron. Chevron, broke this downtrend just like, most names do when they want to get better. And now could pause here and go. Somebody asked me to look at Schlumberger. So let's go to Schlumberger. All right, look at this. This this broke its downtrend, had a bull flag, and instead of just being a broken bounce, it started a new active sequence. And now you have another bull flag here, where maybe there's another trade for those of you guys who are long versus spot and think it's going to get through here. So ultimately, if you just keep the chart patterns that and familiar with, keep the methodology of when it's above the 8 and 21 day, and just change the name. This looks pretty good. I don't see many tech names that look like that. Anyway, so it's 6:51. It's a new week. Let's see again if will there be some commitment to the spies and can it go from red to green? Will some of these mega cap tech names give you calculated frame trades? Will Amazon get into the post earnings gap? Will Google hold that post earnings low? Can Apple, which was my best name since earnings, which I don't own this second, I bought it here, I added there, I think I sold it into this day. Will it be able to give us a tradable move that makes us feel comfortable to take it through the highs of the year? Can Apple get to 300? Someone was asking me. It looks like it's going to get to 300, doesn't it? It's above the moving averages. It's a little extended. You can move this up now. And it's acting better. They didn't spend all the money on the AI. So now sometimes they want to reward you if you built for the future through AI. And sometimes they want to reward you if you didn't spend too much money and you're not on the hook. So anyway, at this point, though, at 6:52, I do appreciate you. I'm coming in pretty light. I want to figure out what to do for this week. Last week wasn't an easy week. For those of you who want the 6:30 Club on Fridays, you need to sign up for the Red Dog Mindset with the subscribe button above if you already did so. Thank you. I appreciate you. Some guys tuned in. Ken was saying that the 25-20 this morning was great. I was a little tired too. So how do you get your mind right so you can focus? Do a nice morning workout. I woke up this morning, drank my water, put up some coffee, turned the sauna on, got in there, listened to a nice mix, sweated out a little bit of last night's Super Bowl party. And now I'm thinking about what could I do today? If this happens, then that. If that happens, then this. And going to do the 40 charts with the Alpha team. I'm going to do my Siri XMSR interview and, see how we get stacked some days. Got to stack some days, get some green days in a row, start feeling good, start getting bigger days and start making some progress. Ken says he needed that workout. I get it. Me too. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes I'm talking to myself in the workout which also talks to everybody else because, if you've been trading for 10, 20, 30 years, a lot of us have the same similar thoughts. Sometimes the market's awesome and sometimes it's a little bit trickier. Now, again, I was out with like 60 guys yesterday. Not one of them was like, wow, this market's awesome. Most people are like, what the hell's going on here? Is tech done? Is the AI trade over? Do we really have to trade this? What do you think about silver? Anyway, there's a lot of question marks out there that the market has to answer. And at least if you frame the situation, you'll know what you're looking for. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys later.